Uh, oh, oh man, being recorded now. I feel the pressure here. This is our weekly advanced team. Obviously, the big focus here is on annuity production. And I always like to just take a moment just to make sure everybody just understands the scope of the retirement division and the team that we have here, and the resources that are available to you and the purpose that why Impact has created this team. But obviously, we're going to spend some time just in understanding annuities a little bit more, but then also preparing you for a couple different unique conversations that you can be having with the folks out in the actual field itself. So I'm going to, without further ado, let me grab your screen here. Hopefully that shows up for everybody. Can I get a thumbs up if it's showing on your? Joshua's got it. Perfect. So in stepping back, just again, and I know I can't say this enough, but our major purpose for the Impact Legacy Retirement Group is to provide you all with tools, resources, and relationships. So those are the three things that, as we evaluate the team, how can we continue to build? How can we continue to provide you all with the resources, the right people to allow you to serve your clients' financial needs, allow you to win in this area of your business, allow you to make more money and build that legacy. And in doing so, in understanding this division, it's incredibly important to understand your family, that client, that person who is near, or that person who is in retirement, and understanding their fear. And you all, if you've listened to me before, really talking this, and I'm not selling fear. I am telling you, this is the concern that the retiree has. It's the concern of running out of money in retirement. And I'm not just talking for that household who has a investment size of $500,000 or less. I've met with people who have, $1.5, $2.5, $3.5 million that still have this fear of running out of money in retirement. To me, it's almost laughable sometimes because I see what they spend, I see what they have, but this is a huge fear. And their fear is because they don't have a clear income plan for retirement. Their fear is they're not sure if they're allocated appropriately to make sure that they can be protected from that stock market downturn. Uncle Sam and the tax man would love nothing more than to take 30, 35, 40% of your retirees' hard-earned money, high investment fees, high costs of what they're paying their advisor, and for the investments that they own also can be a huge barrier for why people run out of money in retirement. And then the number one reason that people do run out of money in their retirement years is long-term care. It's assisted living. It's the nursing home. It's not being equipped to have a plan to be able to pay for those things, and seeing them lose 6, 7. I've seen cases where people are paying up to $15,000 a month for skilled nursing home care. And so making sure, as we look at all things, making sure that they're armed with an entire plan. And you've heard me talk about the scope of services that we have here. And so you can see it's robust and allows us to comprehensively talk to so much with the families that you meet. We're in the process of building out an investment firm, which beyond just the annuity sales that we're going to be equipping you with, you're also going to have an opportunity and really why we're doing this at the end of the day is to allow you the ease of transferring assets to the investment firm, which allows you to be able to put more money into this fixed index annuities, which are a phenomenal tool. So allowing you to be able to talk, allowing us to be able to help you talk about more and more things. So let's really just give you a little flavor of the fixed index annuity. And I think if you're brand new to talking about annuities, I think it's important to make sure that you grasp when people think annuities and you're out in the world and you're talking to clients and families, when they hear the word annuity, the most most people think that when you hear annuity, they're thinking of like the pension, where the insurance company has the money. They're paying you a monthly income stream like a state pension would do, or their work pension would do. And when they die, that money stops, and the pool of money then is kept by that insurance company. So keep in mind, a lot of people think of annuities as just a set payment, set income stream that's done. And those, as you know, those annuities do exist. They're called immediate income annuities. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a fixed and a fixed index annuity. We're talking about a safe place to grow money, or a safe accumulation strategy. And I'm sharing that with you to make sure that you get out ahead of some of those objections, because people don't want necessarily that pension that could be lost if they don't live long enough. But they will and do love places where they can put their money, where they're getting protection from the stock market, and they're seeing conservative, if not great, opportunities for growth. I do want to take a moment today, just talk about some of the more popular strategies with the fixed index annuity. Right. So keep in mind, the fixed annuity has every year set scheduled return. So if somebody got a 5-year fixed annuity that's making 5%, that client is going to make 5% each and every year. And at the end of the term, at the end of the 5 years, they'd have the ability to be able to roll that back into a new period with that same company, or they can move those dollars elsewhere. The fixed index annuity is the newest type of annuity that exists. And in addition to being able to have a fixed bucket where people can put money, they now can take the premium dollars that they put into this plan, and they can put it into an allocation that is tied to various market indexes. So the most popular market index that is used is the S&P 500. So probably heard of this index. It's the 500 largest US publicly traded companies that are out there. Now, as you and as the families you talk to hear the S&P 500, they hear the ups and downs that it has each and every day, right? So making sure that you're arming people, hey, that uses this index as just a way to credit positive performance, but never negative performance. So how does this work? Well, today is what, January 10th. So let's say somebody puts $100,000 into a fixed index annuity today on January 10th. Money goes in. The insurance company is going to look at the S&P 500 on January 10th. It's going to look at it today, and then it's going to remeasure it on January 10th of next year. So after a 12-month period of time. And it's going to look at the performance change to determine how much interest is credited to the account. And if the market goes anything negative, doesn't matter if it goes negative 10, if it goes negative almost 20% like the market lost last year, or almost 40% like it lost in 2008. If somebody put $100,000 in today and next year they looked at the S&P 500 and the S&P 500 had anything negative, was a negative return, your client doesn't lose money, but they get what's called the floor. The floor is 0% typically, which means that at the end of 12 months, they'd still have $100,000. Yes, they wouldn't see anything positively allocated to it if they're using this index, but they haven't lost any money. So keep in mind, the market going backwards 20% in a year's time, that had they had a traditional investment, a mutual fund or an S&P 500 index fund that lost 20%, their $100,000 would now be $80,000, right? So you've now saved that person from going backwards. Now, the trade-off is, because your client is not taking any risk, they're not going backwards, they don't get to keep all of the upside of what happens over that 12-month period of time. As I often laugh, it would be the world's greatest investment. Nobody would own anything but these if they function that way. So you'll hear things like cap being used. So I'll use a cap of 10%. That's about where I'm seeing the market average right now. I'm seeing a few north of that, a few a little bit less, depending on the carrier. But the cap is 10%. What that means is January 10th to January 10th next year, if the market goes up 11%, 12%, or anything north of that, your client is going to get 10% added to their account. $100,000, positive 10%. They're getting $10,000 now added to their account value. And then in year 2, it'll do the same thing. So keep in mind that any interest that they get added to that account now becomes also safe, also protected. What I mean by that is if they put 100,000 in, they have a few years of positive growth, and let's say they grow it to $130,000, and all of a sudden now the market comes slamming to the ground. They sleep easy at night because all of the growth up to $130,000 is all safe, is now all protected. They don't participate in any of that downside. They may have a year where they don't make any money, but now they're going to be with the opportunity to be able to grow again in the future. So that's how the cap strategy works. You also hear things like participation rate. A participation rate in a fixed index annuity still means that it can't go backwards. So nobody participates in anything down. So the same thing, let's use the S&P 500 as an example. There's no participation in anything down. So a negative return over a 12-month period still means a 0% interest is credited to the account. But how the participation rate works is they're going to give you a percentage of the positive growth. I'll give you an example. And I'm seeing a lot of these be around 40, 45, or 50% be what's called the participation rate. What that means is if it's a 50% participation rate, the insurance company is giving your client half of the positive return, right? So 50%, half of the return. So if the return ended up being 24% growth over a 12-month period, they're getting half of the 24%, so they'd get 12% credited to the account. If the index goes up by 10%, well, with a 50% participation, they're getting half of the 10, they're getting 5%. If a participation rate is 45% and the index goes up 10%, they're getting 45% of the 10%, or 4.5% would be credited. So as you're thinking as somebody who's now, and they're thinking, okay, do I use the cap strategy? Do I use the participation rate strategy? You can have some dialogue here and say, gosh, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do I think there's better opportunity to hit a higher interest rate return in the cap versus the participation rate? I do personally, because the break even, if you think about this, the market has to have a 20% positive return over the next 12 months. If I have a 50% participation, then my client's going to get 10% return, right? Well, do I think the market's going to do 20% over the next 12 months? Well, my guess is as good as yours and as good as the next person who might be on TV too. But do I think that their market's got a runway of 20%? I don't have that great confidence. I think the market's got a better chance of having a negative, if not a single-digit return. So the cap strategy would be better this year. I'm telling you this because each and every year, your client will get a document from the insurance company with the opportunity for them to do a reallocation. So what I could do if I was writing a new fixed index annuity today, I could take that client's $100,000 and I could put it all in the cap. I could put some in the cap. I could put some in the participation rate. I could split it up so it's half and half. I could put some in a fixed bucket where they're just getting a guaranteed rate of return for these next 12 months. And then at this time next year, I can get together with the client and we can move that allocation around. So it becomes a really good opportunity to have a review session, becomes a really good, what I call a farming opportunity to be able to look at some additional assets that my client may have, to be able to pull more into, what assets that are with me and my company. So just know that you can have these conversations each and every year, but that's how the participation rate strategy works. I wanted to share with you, we're also seeing a lot of bonus products out there now. What that means is kind of like the good old day where banks would give away free money for opening up a checking or savings account. They give away $50 and all that if you open up a brand new account. Well, a lot of these companies are doing a percentage bonus based off of what they put in. That bonus could be 10%, could be 12%. Got to be careful to make sure what that bonus is getting tied to. Is it an income bonus or a premium bonus? For example, if I'll use security benefit, has a 12% or a 13% bonus rather, where if my client puts $100,000 in there today, they're getting 13% added to that account. So their starting account value is now $113,000. And then same thing, they get put into the cap and a participation rate strategy. They put $1 million in, my client gets $130,000 out of that account because they have a 13% bonus. So some really good things, how I can use those bonuses effectively. I can talk to a story about, hey, I know your account, you were telling me that this account has gone backwards X percent. What if we can win back some of those losses using this strategy, having a bonus to be able to win back some of those losses? Or maybe they're in that bad annuity, variable annuity, or some product that is going backwards. You now have and they still have a penalty period. You can be able to come alongside them with a bonus product to be able to get them out of that product sooner than later, be able to make them whole with a bonus, or even maybe put them out ahead and now put them in a strategy that is more suitable for where they need to be. Let me take a pause. Any questions that you all may have as it relates to caps and participation rates and how these may work? All good there. I'm going to keep going, but feel free to stop me anytime, gang. I want to use, sometimes hear this kind of the prudent investor rule, or the rule of thumb when it comes to investing. I'll just call it the investment risk rule. I've even heard it called the Warren Buffett rule. And what that rule is 100 minus somebody's age is the amount of market risk that would be appropriate to take. So if somebody is age 65, that means 35% of their money should be in market risk investments. If they're 70, 100 minus 70, 30% of their investments should now be in investments that take on market risk. This rule has been around for a long period of time. Your client might have heard of it. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Most people, though, don't know what they have is market safe and what they have that is market risk. So let me walk you through an example of that. And also, I'm going to just preface this conversation as the good old days, if you will, was if somebody was a 70 or a 50-50 portfolio, they're 50 years old, that 50% would be in the market, 50% would be safe. That meant 50% was in bonds or cash accounts. Fixed index annuities were not even thought of as a part of that safe once upon a time, that it was all a mix of that. Well, I'm not asking you to know much about bonds, but bonds can absolutely go backwards. In fact, the traditional bond fund last year had double-digit losses. So people were losing money in both buckets if they didn't have a fixed index annuity to be able to downside protect them. So it is on you, it's on me, it's on us to make sure that we're providing education on what truly is market safe, what truly is market risk. So let's give an example. Let's say you run into somebody who has $500,000 total investment portfolio. Let's use that same example that they are 65. So what that means is if they're 65, 35% of their investment should be in the risk bucket. That's that's a bucket there. Sorry, that's not the most beautiful bucket ever, but that's their risk bucket of 35%. What that means is that 65% of their investment portfolio should be in market safe strategies. Okay. Great conversation. This is having a cup of coffee on a napkin. You can start to have this conversation. What we have on our retirement team is we have some great analysis tools where if you provide us statements, we can run a risk assessment and give people clarity on, hey, here's how much market protection they have, here's how much market protection they don't have. We have what's called Riskalyze, which is a really cool assessment that can show them a number of different things and help you determine the right allocation, but also be able to show them, hey, if what we're experiencing now truly turns into a 2008 and a 2009, here's how much you would actually stand to lose. Mr. and Mrs. Client, are you comfortable losing 30, 35, 40%? And then it can help you navigate to make sure where they are located. Something I always like to do, I call this the tape measure. So I'll draw a line just like this, arrow on one side. I'll put risk. I'll put safe, and I'm going to take them through just a little, an educational session. I'm not doing these buckets, and I'm having this conversation. I'm saying, okay, well, 65% of your money we know that we should be safe with, and we know 35% of that money should be in the market. Well, what are all things that can go backwards? So when you think about risky investments, and you can even ask them like, well, I know stocks can go backwards. Yes, mutual funds can go backwards. Well, what's a mutual fund? A mutual fund is just hundreds, if not thousands, of stocks that are owned by one fund, right? So it doesn't matter if you got one stock or thousands of them, that has market risk and has fluctuation to them. Variable annuities can absolutely go backward. If this, I always use this too as a great opportunity. Hey, what's your familiarity with annuities? Well, I don't know. Well, let me tell you this. I'm not a big fan of variable annuities. And I'll tell you, why a little bit later, but fees, the fact that your money can go backwards, these are all reasons why I don't like variable annuities one bit. And actually, I'm not a fan of mutual funds either, because mutual funds offer very little transparency of what you own in that fund, but also mutual funds have high investment, high internal costs. This has been a place where the mutual fund and the investment industry have really buried a ton of fees behind the financial curtain. So I'm not fond of mutual funds whatsoever. I'm not fond of variable annuities whatsoever. I do like index funds. You'll hear Dave Ramsey talk about this a lot in index investing. So if somebody's going to be in the market, they should be in the market, in my opinion, with index funds. These are funds that just track how an actual market index will do. You can own the S&P 500. Oh, by the way, that fancy mutual fund that somebody's paying 2 to 3% each and every year as a management fee, that mutual fund, all they're trying to do is beat the benchmark. Well, I can just own the benchmark by owning an actual index fund. So just giving you some little investment tips today. I love index investing. Or on our investment platform side, those are the types of strategies and tools that we use over there, because it allows us to keep investment costs extremely low for your client, which means more money working for the retiree. I put a REIT on there too. You may or may not be familiar with that, but you'll have people that'll own these. A REIT is a real estate investment trust. Looks and feels like a mutual fund, but instead of owning stocks, it just owns various types of real estate. Well, as we know, real estate prices can go up and can go down. So I'm telling you, all of those things that you see over there, those are various strategies where people can put their money to have market risk. So if this client had 35% or 65 years old rather, we would take that $175,000 and they should be somewhere over here. Most of my people are going to be somewhere in an ETF or index fund strategy. All right, let's get to the fun part. Let's talk to the market safe side. And I mentioned bonds before. Bonds can absolutely go backwards. And as interest rates fluctuate like what we've been seeing, to me, bonds lean more left than they've ever been and will always be that way. And bonds will actually have less liquidity than what you need to know. Bonds have less liquidity than what an annuity often has. You have to own a bond for till its duration, and the only thing you get off that is interest while you hold it. Well, as you may know, a fixed index annuity, you can make withdrawals each and every year, up to 10% typically from that. So we have more liquidity options out there than just bonds as well. So what else is safe? Well, people may say money market and checking and savings. CDs are safe. Fixed annuities, I mentioned that before, how fixed annuities, they're a lot like a CD, except they're issued by insurance companies, right? And they can be a little bit longer. If you haven't looked at CD rates, I'll tell you that I see fixed annuity rates being 2-3% higher almost at every term, sometimes twice as high as what I'm seeing banks paying. But when I'm with the prospect, I'm going to circle fixed index annuity, and I'm going to talk about how this is a phenomenal complement to a retirement plan. And this would be the place where I'll just do some education, how it works, how I shared with you before and talking to the S&P 500. And then it has absolutely no downside, that has a 0% floor. I would talk to the cap or a participation rate potentially of how this works, and start to really kind of get in asking the right questions on how this can really be beneficial and be a part of their actual plan itself. So I like to implement. I'm showing you kind of two strategies at once that you can marry, but I love the bucket strategy. It's visual. My favorite compliment I get to retirees is like, Pat, I love how simple you keep things. And what I have found is the more simple, the more digestible, the more I see organic growth, because that person now has confidence. They have confidence in me, they have confidence in the services and the investment types that I can provide, that they're now more apt to tell their coworker, their family member, their friends. So just some really kind of strategies that you can be able to come alongside folks to be able to talk about with these. What I wanted to make sure I was share with you a little bit, I just want to give you just a little background on the S&P 500. So, if you took $100,000 at the beginning, so on January 1st, 2000, you'll see there in the gray box on your screen, that's the actual annual return. So you can see the percentage losses. So you can see at the end of 2010, had I put $100,000 in the S&P 500, if I owned that actual index, not the annuity, no downside protection you see here. You can see money absolutely going backwards. This was a tough decade. You had 2000, 2001, 2002. For those who don't remember, that was the dot-com bubble that exploded at that time. 2008, we had the Great Recession. So over that 10-year period, that $100,000 at the end of 2010 would have been less than $105,000, so $104,558 to be exact. Oh, by the way, that's before any fees that somebody would be paying their advisor for that fund. Now, if somebody owned a fixed index annuity that had a 50% participation, you can see the years where I had a 0% credit to those accounts, but you can see the years of the 50% participation where I was getting half of the index or half of the market returns. Over that 10-year period, my $100,000 would be $166,000. And if I had a 10% cap strategy over that same period of time, my $100,000 will now be $178,000. Why am I sharing this with you? Because if you were going to think of, okay, is the next 10 years going to be more like 2000 to 2010? Or is it going to be more like 2010 to 2020? Which one is that going to be more like? I believe personally, and I think most people tend to believe, it's going to be a lot more like 2000 to 2010, with a ton of volatility that's happening. We have just come out of one of the best market, not one of, the best market runs ever in the history of the market, from 2010 to 2020. But that same 100,000 investment, if I carry those numbers forward, now from 2011 to 2022, you can see how that same S&P 500, that actual turn, and if somebody was in the market, exactly how their money performed over that period of time. The participation rate, again, getting 50%, the cap strategy rate over that same period of time. Look at the difference. And again, this is actually coming out of one of the best market runs ever. This is why I believe a fixed index annuity is such a key component to somebody's plan. My parents own it. I actually own a fixed index annuity, but I use very much the bucket or the investment rule of thumb. So there's a guy who's in his mid 40s. I got a little runway left in terms of working. I'm able to take on more risk, and my risk bucket is much bigger than my parents' risk bucket. But my market safe money, I don't own any bonds. I don't own any CDs. I have fixed index annuities over there for that part of my actual plan. If you were with us last week, we talked about the difference between spend and invest. We often say how we spend our time, how we spend our money, how we spend our energy. I'm challenging myself. I want to continue to challenge you. Let's throw that word spend out the window, and let's talk about how we invest our time. Let's talk about how we invest our money, how we invest our energy. And I walk through some of those different areas. And I want to really spend some time in the weeks ahead, specifically on those energy places there. That short term 25. If you didn't hear me talk about this last week, I would challenge you, create a short term 25. Who are my top 25 prospects in my life, people that I know, that these are the people that I should be going to talk to about a fixed index annuity, going out and talking about their retirement plan to see if there's some areas that we can help. A secondary list may also be your ambassadors or influencers out there, people that want to help you, want to promote you, and then set up number of touches per week, right? And then I call, and we're going to spend more time on this too, but push points and master push points. I would then set up things like lunch and learns and happy hours and dinner seminars where I can continue to drive traffic to places where people can actually, or I could actually present about, hey, here's who we are as a retirement firm. Here are the things that we do. You need to know collectively that our retirement team is going to be building out seminars and building out things that you can be able to use. You're going to have us as relationships and people and resources who can come out to those areas and deliver any of these types of events on your behalf as well. And I shared this last week, and I can't hit this enough, and I want to just encourage you. This line of business, I love it for two reasons. One, I love it because you can have a lasting and an incredible positive impact on the families that you meet and put them at ease and give them great confidence that they are not going to run out of money in retirement. And then personally, this is a great business to build your own personal legacy and build a healthy, thriving business. I'm not saying you take away from maybe those other focus areas, but if you're not including and making this a part of the conversations and what you do, I truly believe you're missing out. Let me show you how you can add an additional $100,000 of income this year. If you're just starting to come along in here, there's two different paths on how you can utilize our retirement team. We have the Empower path. So the Empower path, you direct the entire sales process. We are there to be support, help run illustrations, help create case design, help package the delivery of what you're going to be targeting to your client, but you handle the sales process. You're you're the face of all things with your prospective client. If you just do one closing per month, and we're seeing the average case size for the Empower be about $60,000 being the premium that's put into a fixed index annuity. Your annual income now added for 2023 is $43,200 for this year. In the second path, as you come across different cases, and you don't have to say, hey, I'm 100% Empower or I'm 100% Elevate. You can decide on the type of case, which one would be better for you to run versus which one that would be best to pull the retirement team in. And now we would direct the actual sales process. So we are running the actual appointment for you. You have the opportunity then to sit alongside of us and see the conversations and see the meeting process that is happening. So you can then be best equipped to then run these type of meetings in the future. Through the Elevate path, one closing per month, and we're seeing significantly larger cases. The reason for that is when our cases get elevated, we're now to talk to more things holistically, comprehensively. We're seeing the average premium case size more than double when cases get elevated. By doing this one closing per month to the Elevate, that's almost another $58,000 of income that gets added to your bottom line for this year. So we want to provide you just, again, the ability to be able to do both. I wanted to also just I know I'm maybe running a little tight on time when I give some questions here at the end. I always try to keep this to 40 minutes. But if you haven't seen this already, this form is phenomenal. Continue to use this as the primary resource for directing questions, getting illustrations. I'm going to just click on this. Let me do a quick stop share. Let me come back to that now. Let me just walk you through, if you're just seeing that form for the very first time, this is, again, an incredible tool. You have the ability to be able to click on schedule your consultation here. You can actually schedule a coaching call. I've had a number of people using this. This coaching calls come direct with me, where we now have a 30-minute time slot where you and I can be able to talk through this. We're building out a secondary button, just so you know, where you would also be able, if you're going to elevate a case, be able to right on the spot with that family, with that client, be able to schedule that meeting with your retirement team and the actual client themselves. Gives you a chance to choose what platform you're going to use, but then you can put, so for illustration purposes, you can put all these things in here. You can go down and you can click the types of retirement concerns that they have. So spend some time in here. There's a place where you can actually upload statements. You can put in additional information. We get these, and if you haven't seen, we pride ourselves on being very responsive to these and getting you feedback, giving you some questions or things that we may need to be able to run some additional resources. If you're not sure whether it's Elevate or Empower, we're not going to hold you to it by what you put in here. As we talk through that case a little bit more in detail, we may tell you, hey, listen, Matt Smith, you don't need Pat Schmidt to run this case. I think this is a better Empower path. Here's your path to victory. Here's what you should be able to show. Here's the illustration. Go. But as we have conversations, and if you get, man, this maybe bit off a little bit more than I chew. Maybe this isn't Empower. Pat, would you be interested in running this case? And let's make this an Elevate. We can absolutely switch. So don't feel like whatever you put in here, you're stuck to. Right? We're going to have a conversation and work through it and be able to decide what's the best path for you, what's the best path for your development, and what's the best path to help you get a win with the client you are in front of. I'm going to take a breath for a second. I know a lot there, but I'm going to take a pause here. And man, you all, what questions do you have? Ty's got to have a question.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, buddy.
All right. Now, the only question I guess I have is the bonus part of where a client might put in 100,000 and they get a bonus. You might have described it. I guess I might not have heard it. Let's say it's a 3% bonus. Is that pretty normal?
I'm actually seeing them even higher right now, Ty. So we're seeing them like in the 6 to 10, even like the 13% range.
Let's say it's 10%. So now they have 110. Their business grows on 110,000, correct?
Correct. So yeah, so great point. So their year one interest is going to grow on that $110,000, as opposed to, if they were started. So it's like getting out ahead of the starting line to start with, right? So it'd be kind of a good little boost, good boost to their money. What I will tell you, because I think the question that probably comes up, why would I always use a bonus product? And the reason for that is caps and participation rates on no bonus products are a little bit higher than the ones where you have a bonus. So there's some give and take on some of those.
And then the other question that goes on top of that is, if they were to, let's say after their, maybe they did a 3-year, 5-year, I don't know what the typical on the bonus structure, if it's a 5-year plan, let's just say it's a 5-year. When they take their money out, do they get that? Or was it just a bonus to help them with to get more money on the percentage?
Question. So that's their money too. So at the end of the term, they get to keep that. If here's an example. So like, let's say somebody puts 100,000 in, they get a 10% bonus, so their money grows to $110,000. Well, a lot of these annuities allow you 10% free withdrawals each year, right? So at the end of year one, I take 10%. I'm taking out $10,000. And maybe I still have some interest earnings in there. I now protected my principal. All I've done is take that bonus out and made that mine, and I go spend that on something. But and then at the end of that period, whether it's a 5 or 7 or a 10-year product, that the original principal, the bonus, the interest earnings, Ty, great question. That all becomes the clients.
I think I've always been sort of confused on that side of it because I always was thinking that, I always thought they got it, but at the same time, I wasn't quite sure. I always thought maybe they just got that bonus, which then helped them obviously get more money into their account because of the, having more for the percentage. But I was still 50-50 if they got it at the end or not. So, I mean, it's probably a
Yeah.
simple rookie deal, but I wasn't for sure about it. So.
No, good question. And then I also, this would be good to share with the group. There's Allianz 222 is a product out there. It's a popular product. That bonus is over 30%, but that bonus isn't added to the premium. That bonus is added to an income-based benefit. So it's added to a benefit that's used as a calculation to determine a death benefit or an income payment. So there are examples of where that benefit base, where it's added to that as opposed to added to the premium. So where I was talking to is more the actual premium bonus, which is the one that I believe is more beneficial. There are, as you're kind of alluding to, there are bonuses that are out there that are a little bit more fuzzy because it's added to a different type of value.
Gotcha. Thank you for answering.
My pleasure. Other questions out there, guys and girls?
I wanted to ask, when it comes to an annuity rollover, does a client have to be retired first for us to roll over the 401k or 403b into an annuity?
Another great question from another great Ty. The short answer of that is no, not always. What I mean by that is if somebody, every 401k or 403b or 457, all of those plans are built different. Typically, if somebody is still working for that company and they're still contributing to that 401k, typically they can't touch that until they either have separated from service or they have reached 59 and a half. And that 59 and a half, there are some plans where now they can take what's called an in-service distribution. So even though my father-in-law, for example, so when he got to age 60, even though he was still working for the electric firm that he worked for 30 some years, after age 60, he could actually take the whole thing of his 401k and move that to an IRA where we could put some into a fixed index annuity and be able to do some more things outside of his 401k. But we couldn't touch that before 59 and a half for him. But I've seen some plans, Ty, that say, hey, you can't touch it at all until you retire. You can't touch it until you're 65. I will tell you a lot of 403, and I know you had one that was specific, so I'll use yours as the example if you don't mind. You had a 403B or 457 up in New York, and those 403B, 457s that are tethered to school districts, 100% of the time I've always seen that as long as he or she is still with that district, that they can't move those dollars anywhere else until they've either separated from service or retired.
Yeah, that makes sense because I was on the National Life Group training a couple of days ago where they were going over the full 403B program they have for the teaching and everything, and that is exactly kind of what he was saying. So it makes sense. Yeah, it's matching. All right.
Yeah, but a great point for me to make mention to the group here, Ty. I appreciate you asking this question because I would always ask, call the plan provider. If you grab the statement, you'll get the 800 number. So with your client, hey, let's do the research here. Let's see what you have available. Sometimes it's a percent that they can pull out at a certain age. Now, again, if they've retired, if they've separated from service, then it's game on. They can move those old 401ks anywhere, 403Bs, 457s, all that alphabet soup. They can move those things anywhere. But if they're still working, that every plan, every company designs those a little bit different. It is absolutely worthwhile to jump on a 3-way call with your client and their plan administrator and just ask those questions. Hey, at what age do they have the ability to be able to move it? That's called an in-service rollover or an in-service with withdrawal. And then peace of mind to your prospect, you're taking that 401k and you're moving that to a traditional IRA. So you're not creating a taxable event by doing that. But yeah, the unfortunate, to elaborate on that a little bit more, these 401ks, it's such a small menu of options. There's not great investment strategies in here. So the ability to be able to move that to you and be able to have more options is great benefit to people. And I'm hoping that we see more and more plans expand to allow people to be able to move those. Other questions? All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate your time and attention. Somebody asked me a question in there.
You got time for another question?
I do.
Do you have time for another question or no?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. How do you go about moving a client from an unqualified plan to a qualified plan without major capital gains tax when they withdraw from the market? They're heavily invested in the stock market right now. They really shouldn't be because they're very old. She's down a lot of money, but they've been in the market for about 50 years. So you could just imagine, the growth. So how would we go about moving her from the market to an annuity?
Yeah. Unfortunately, James, I wish there was an IRS trick that we could give you for this one, but the bad news. So his question is about somebody who has a non-qualified investment, a non-qualified brokerage account, could be stocks, could be mutual funds. And in James' case here, it sounds like they've owned it for a very long period of time. So there's a lot of appreciation and investment growth that's in that fund. Anything that they would sell, they would have to realize as a capital tax gain. Now, where you could look at, James, is, okay, are there any losses in here? So if there's $100,000 of losses, I can apply that to $100,000 of gains, and now they net a zero capital gain and be able to take that pool of money and be able to put that into a fixed index annuity to be able to give them some market safety. But unfortunately, James, there's it's kind of like, if you know anything about 1031s on the investment properties. If somebody sells real estate and they can turn around in a short period of time and buy like property for the same thing on the investment, because they would be transitioning to a different investment type in a fixed or fixed index annuity. It doesn't do anything to allow us to circumvent any of the tax savings within that brokerage account.
She's down about 250. It's a monster account. She's down about 250 in the last 2 years. So more or less that would offset 70% of the, we could move over like the equivalent of 70% without being taxed on.
Yeah, so you can look at it this way. So within that brokerage account, and you and I, if she's willing to give you a statement, we can look at it and we can look at the actual holdings. So let's say that of that investment account, let's say she's got 5 funds that have a negative, have lost $250,000, but she has 5 other funds or stocks or holdings that have made $250,000. She could sell the losers and realize $250,000 of losses. She could sell those winners that were $250,000 of earnings, and now those things offset. And then now she has that whole pool of money that she could then repurpose and put into a fixed index annuity with you. But
so more or less, speak to her about getting the statements, because I started talking to her about it. I said, "You're 82 years old." So what happened was her husband passed away. She had all these brokerage accounts. She had no idea. And then she started going through statements as they were coming in and realized that her husband was heavily invested over the last 50 years in the market. And she's trying to figure everything out. But she told me she realized she's down like $270,000 over the last 18 to 24 months. And I said, "Carolyn," I said, "you have no business being in the market." And I said, "You should be in something like a fixed indexed annuity, where you could get that steady stream of income in your retirement." And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, she's going to get clobbered with capital gains tax. So I was just trying to think of
Hey,
a
hey,
way to,
hey, James, how long ago did her husband die?
within the last 2 years.
Okay, now that might change things because there is what's called a step up in cost basis. So if the just a little quick tax one for that, and again, we'd have to look at it just to see if this applied. But right now in the tax code, there's what is called a step up in the cost basis. So the husband, for example, if he had 50 years of earnings and $1 million, let's say he put 100 grand in and it grew to $1 million. At his passing, current IRS tax code wipes away all of those earnings, and that means the wife now inherits the new cost basis or gets stepped up to that $1 million. And so what she would then see is the difference of the growth from that $1 million. Now that becomes her cost basis. So she now sees the appreciation or depreciation from that place. So there may be some nuances here where it's more favorable than maybe what we think, given the timing of when he passed away and given what's happened from a market perspective since then, that James, we may be able to protect even more if that's
So this
if
is
that's the
something
case.
you and I have to have a further conversation on then. Okay,
Yep.
great. And I'm sorry my video's not on. I have such horrible reception. I'm surprised I can even speak. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
All good, James. My pleasure. We'd love to have a look at that. Got a CPA too in my back pocket that we can look and bounce some different tax things off of too. That will run support for us as well as needed.
You know what's so funny, Pat, is that she's like, well, why didn't my broker tell me about this? I'm like, because your broker gets paid for money under management. I'm like, that's why he's not telling you about this. I mean, come on.
Hey man, we'll run some fee analysis, and there's a lot that we can probably explore there. So it sounds like a great case. You said, was it Carolyn? What was her name?
Yeah, Carolyn. Yep.
Carolyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can get your arms around those statements, let's connect and let's put a plan for you to help her out.
All right, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, Pat. I'll reach out to you.
Awesome. Well, my pleasure, everybody. We'll appreciate you all. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and don't hesitate. Again, we're here to be a resource and help you and help your clients win.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
I was wondering, you said something about statements, and I know that looking at this over the statements is a big part of us, coming up with our strategy. And do you ever teach how to look at the statements or probably look over it? Because I had a statement from a client and I was like so confused because the first time I looked at the statement and I was like, all right, look, wait, what is he contributing? It was so confusing. I was like, because it's like your contributions. Then it said your employee's contributions, and I was just like, all right, which one is you? I was so confused.
Yeah. That is, I got a running list here, my friend, of and that is definitely a high priority because those statements can be challenging, and these are great on a case to case basis. But whether you're looking at 401ks or 403bs and brokerage accounts, variable annuities, trying to decipher what is what, so that you can then be armed with having great conversations on site, right? And some of that will just come in time and repetitions. And using us as a resource and a reference. But yeah, absolutely. That's a high priority item for mine in terms of just doing some statement training to give and arm you all with being able to see some things out there to be able to take that conversation a little bit further.
Oh, please.
And then Ty, we got to get you out of the state of New York, man. We may be able to arm you with all kinds of more options.
I know.
You mentioned Florida, man. I'm praying for you.
They're just giving me a headache, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
You're in New York. I'm in New York as well. I'm on Long Island. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Manhattan, brother.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah, man. I'm in Manhattan. I'm getting slammed out here, and then the funny thing, I got 2 more appointments tomorrow for annuities, and it's all New York. It's not a lot of options. It's just not.
No, there's not. I run into it all the time with insurance. It's a nightmare.
It is.
My friends tell me that's 100% driven by Wall Street.
Yeah, James, give me on Slack.
All right, I hit you up on Slack. There's a group. There's a New York group on Slack. So I don't know if you're in there. I'll invite you.
Thank you. Please do. I had no idea. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Doug.
Oh, Joe. Joe is on here. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Ty?
What's up, baby?
Good to see you,
All
bro.
Everybody's on here. Matt, Ty. Okay, the crew. I'm out of here, guys. I gotta go.
All right, y'all. Have a great week, gang.
Appreciate your Pat. Thank you.
My pleasure.